Hello guys, and welcome to a replay analysis video with me, ViBE. And today we're going over some diamond level Zerg versus Terran. Got a bit of a long one. Let me give you a little peek here at the replay timer. Boom! 39 minutes. Holy God. There's a lot of things that are going to happen in here. I might need to go through like 2 water bottles for how much dehydration we're going to have by speaking so much. I'll try to make this quick and to the point though. I'll try not to have little run-on sentences. But this is a long one. This is I've never gone this deep before. Okay? This is a big one. So, Muffin Maestro is going to be our subject again one more time today. Thank you again, Muffin, for another submission. And let's get into it. Okay, you already fucked up. You didn't even split your drones. Are you even trying anymore? No, you don't have to do that, but if anyone's curious, if you actually are able to split off like 1 or 2 drones to this patch and 1 or 2 drones to this patch, it is totally worth it. The way your game should always start is immediately drone first, split second, overlord move third. If you get really good at it, you could do all of that in about 1 second. Maybe 1.5. But it's not required. If you're like someone who's just, you know, taking it at a little bit of a slower pace, it's okay. Also, the other thing too that's really important that is not quite happening yet. This is something, even if you guys don't do the split thing I just said, you don't have to. Diamond level though would be the first thing I would say. Maybe you should start practicing it. Anything below diamond, don't ever fucking do it. Like literally don't. Diamond level, I would say would be. That's when I would say, yeah, you could practice it if you want to. But everybody should do what I'm about to say. No matter what league you're in, whether it's bronze, silver, gold, whatever, try your best to like spin your larva and keep your build going straight. But just look at the close patches. Some mineral lines are more obvious than others. Like this one's super obvious. This is a close patch. This is a close patch. This is a close patch. That's a close patch. There's always 4 and 4. 4 close, 4 far. Just try your best to get 2 drones on each close patch. It's super important. It does increase your mineral income a bit if you do that, and it deflates it a bit if you ever have 3 on a far patch and 1 on a close patch. As you can see, we have 2. We have 2 on this patch. These drones are currently coming down though, so they're about to rotate. And we only have 1 up here, and we only have 1 right there. So, and we do have 2 on this far patch, and we have 2 on this far patch. Just try your best to get close patches all doubled up. Or actually, there were 2 on this one. I take it back, sorry. It's just this one that doesn't have 2. But look, this is what I'm talking about. Notice how it's 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 2. Every patch is perfect except for this patch and this patch. There's 3 here, and there's only 1 here. Having 3 on a far patch wouldn't be that big of a deal if there was only 1 on another far patch, because a drone will actually transfer itself off. Most likely, the AI will actually transfer itself from a 3 to a 1 if it's a far patch. Usually, not always, but usually because it mines a little bit slower. But having only 1 on a close patch, it's a little bit closer, so it's a little bit faster. So the AI has less of a chance to register that it needs to automatically transfer to it. And it just fucks your whole mining up like a bit. You're losing out pretty. You're losing probably the efficiency of like 0.7 of a drone right now. And if we're talking about 0.7 of a drone over the course of like 10 minutes, it adds up over time pretty hard. So always double stack your close patches every game. Who gives a shit about the far ones? If you get really good at it, you can like take a quick glance and make sure they're okay, but close patches need to be stacked. Alright, so we got a gas, we got a pool.
Oh, yeah.
So we got drones being made. We got a few lings. This is all super standard so far. Here's a question mark, though. Why are we still mining 3 gas? You got Zergling speed started. I get that. But what are we going to do with the gas? If you don't do an all-in right now, this is totally terrible. So you're going for a really fast layer. The only time I would ever agree with this is if you're going for a very fast Nidus Worm. We'll see if you do that. But in general, against, what's it called? Against blah, 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 blah. Against just players in Legacy of the Void is what I'm kind of trying to say. Going for really fast tech builds as Zerg are generally kind of weaker nowadays. It's just how it works. There are way more builds focused around, like for Terran, there's a lot more builds that are focused around like having some type of something that's going to scout your base before mutas were to hit him, like a Reaper, or like a Hellion or a Banshee. Something's gonna give the Terran, idea that you're doing that. And even if the Terran's not even opening with a Marine build, if he just makes 1 turret per base, you're already so far behind. Like, it's just not going to be well. So I hope for his sake this is a Nidus build. Like, 2 base muta builds are not great, in my opinion. Much better builds you could be doing. And the other thing, too, is 2 base muta build also requires you to be very active with your mutas, which is harder. You're making the game harder for yourself to be in that kind of a situation. He's only got 1 gas, though. Okay, here we go. Now he's taking more gas. This is looking like a Nidus. If he does Nidus, it's fine. But he's not Nidusing. So your layer is way too early. You're going to get roach speed, I assume. Yeah. Okay, so this build is just not efficient. Let me throw out a new build idea out there. So we're going to look at... Actually, I'm going to let this play for just a second. We're going to speed this up really fast. What we're going to look at is I'm going to let roach speed finish. And then I'm going to look at what happens with roach speed. What do we do with it? Let's find out. Roach speed just finished at 548. Now let's see what happens as a result of this. Because just want to throw this out there. The whole point of this build up to this point has been, let's get a roach speed as fast as possible. And has actually sacrificed his own economy to get to this point. So what is the impact? Like, that's the con of this build so far, is that we've cut our own economy a little bit to get to this point. But now what are the pros going to be? Let's find out. Let's see what happens. A full minute and 2 seconds has gone by, and these roaches, I'm not going to lie, have done the exact same thing that slow roaches could do. They walked to the edge of creep to start smacking Hellions. You do not need roach speed to defend harass if you have a wall off and you have creep spread. Even if you don't even have a wall off, you don't even need roach speed to defend. Look at the roaches, okay? We got 10 roaches. Imagine if there was like 5 roaches here and 5 roaches here. You know, what does the Terran do then? Does he just like drive into Hellions or drive his Hellions into roaches and die? Like, yes, that's what would happen is if you went into your base like that. You do, if you're going to be defensive, like getting roach speed and rushing it really fast is not necessary. Roach speed is a good upgrade, but you don't need to rush it. Like, we've done nothing with it that has made an impact, and if it's at 7 minutes now, and if we would have done a more efficient build, we could still have it at 7 minutes no matter what. And we'd still be in the exact same position we are with the roaches, but our economy would look a lot better than that. One of the biggest problems of the opener is we're tied with the Terran, basically, on fucking economy. So here's a better idea. This is, and again, StarCraft 2 is a game of it's like a ripple effect, and everything you do in the early game, it sets the pace for everything that happens after. I always say this because a lot of people don't think about it like this sometimes. But setting the pace for your build to be weak at the start for your economy is going to make the entire rest of your build behind and slower than it should be. But like right now, okay, this is where we kind of messed up on. Okay, here we go. I'll speed it up a little bit. Right now, if we took if we took all 3 drones off gas, the goal is to go roaches, right? Just as like a safety precaution. Let's just say right now we take all 3 of our drones off of gas. We just got Zergling speed. This is good. I like it because Zergling speed is going to help you defend a lot of potential things that could be happening to you. You have no idea what he's doing yet. He could be doing anything. So you're preparing for the possibilities, basically. You're covering your ass. You picked up a frying pan in PUBG. So you're good to go, okay? Now, if we stopped mining gas right now, it would give us enough money. Watch the larva, by the way. This is going to be the larva tab. It would give us enough money if we stop mining gas right now to make queens constantly, to make our larva into units constantly, and then after we make queens 3 and 4, we could make third base at the exact same time. And then it also, right after we take the third base, we could then make a roach warren. But again, watch the larva. So you're. I'm gonna throw this one out there too. If you are spinning your larva, which is good. Okay, I'll say that first because we were just talking about larva. You are spinning your larva, which is good, but here's the problem. You have no cover on your base. You got Zergling speed, and Zergling speed is almost done. When your Zergling speed is like 60 plus seconds, that's right around the time you want to start making your Zerglings, because that is also going to be right around the time the Terran's going to have about 4 Hellions. Realistically, if their build is not delayed, like 60, 65 seconds on speed, it's right around the time when when a Terran is going to have 2, possibly 3 and 4 Hellions coming out here pretty soon. But you have no cover on your base. You have like your larva inject just popped off. We'll look at this and see how long it takes to spin it. You have a third base getting ready to be thrown down now. Your third base timing is fine. I don't mind your third base timing, but if you weren't mining this gas and you didn't start this layer, you would actually be able to make this third while making queens, while spinning all your larvae. And your creep would actually already be started, by the way, as well. You have very little coverage of your base at the moment with this opener. This opener is super risky. Look at the larva, though. It's chilling. It's chilling. It's chilling. It's chilling. And now it's spent. Like, that larva chilled on that hatchery for, like, what, 10 seconds? That's, It's gonna fuck you over. Like, things like that are gonna slow down your opener real harder and harder and harder. And we still have a situation where we have no queens. And we're gonna talk more about this. I'm gonna harken back to this. So remember what I'm saying. But having multiple queens is gonna help you so much, because it not only increases your creep spread, which is gonna help you defend medevac drops. It's gonna help you defend Hellbat timings. It's gonna help you defend just Hellions in general. It's gonna help your queens get around to defend air units. That's the big one. And it's gonna also give you more money to make more queens to also actually defend something. It's not just like you're poking him and hoping he leaves. Like, that's what this queen would accomplish. If 4 Hellions or 6 Hellions drove up here right now, we have 0 fucking Zerglings. Other than that, by the time you have speed, a Terran could easily have 6 Hellions. I am not kidding. Like, it could totally happen. And if this dude had 6 Hellions driving into your natural, 1 queen and 2 Zerglings are going to do nothing. You're going to lose your drones. And you're feeling, and you're also just making drones still. This is a super risky build. But if you make more queens, you'll be able to actually have something more there to defend. It's very, very good. Anyways, we'll keep going with this one now. But just know that this build is way too gas heavy. Way too fucking gas heavy. And then you could still get a like the time I gotta say this too. I didn't say this. The time when you would actually want to take your gas, by the way, your first gas that you took initially was totally fine. You mine Zergling speed and you stop mining with all of your drones on gas. As soon as your natural is between 14 and 16 drones, make 3 drones and send them into your gas in your main. So if, let's just say, hypothetically, I'm at 14 out of 16 and 2 injects popped off my hatcheries. And 3 drones get made here and 3 drones get made here. I'm going to send 3 drones that get made in my main to the gas, and then 3 drones that get made in my natural can go to the natural. And I can be 17 out of 16, and then I can be 3 out of 3 on the gas. So you start mining your gas again. You start mining it again when you're fully saturated pretty much on your natural. If not, 16 or 14, somewhere in there. Doesn't really matter. It's not super specific. It's just right around that time. It kind of depends on how many lings you have to make as well, because some Terrans are more aggressive than others, and some Terrans are better with their Reaper than others, which can sometimes change how many drones you have when this inject pops off. Sometimes you'll be able to fully saturate, and sometimes you'll be slightly under. But around 14 to 16 drones is ideally, on your natural, is when you want to saturate the gas. And that off of that timer, that's when you'd be like, all right, now when we get 100 gas, now we can go for a layer. Then we can get roach speed if I really need to, if he's going like Mech or something. Then that's totally fine. So much better if you did it like that. And then you would also be able to actually use a third a lot more efficiently, because you would have creep already connected between all your bases. You would have creep already going down the ramps on both sides. And you would already have a queen over here ready to inject a third base. And you would have like 4 queens extra right now. You would be probably at a total of like 6 or 7 queens right now. Also, this wall here, it only needs 2 buildings. And the reason why you put 3 buildings down is because you built the roach one because you wanted to time it out with a layer, but you didn't have creep over here because you didn't have a queen to put a tuber down. So this is also inefficient that you have 2 evos in the front with a roach warren just that was like kind of like pseudo walling a little bit. Like I understand if you have a roach warren here, you could put down 2 evos there and you could make a little queen door. But yeah, it's just like it's like another little thing where it's a little inefficient. 2 Evo chambers right now are never going to be upgrading yet, and if you are, your build is crazy. It's just inefficient. So what do we have going on here for the Terran? You're trying to make drones. You're currently at 58 drones to 40 SCVs. You're catching up on your economy now, which is good. But just know this is really late. Like it's still better than your opponent, but overall, in the general sense, this is late. And now he how did my music stop? Now he teleports into your base. So this is kind of what I was talking about earlier when I was recommending more queens early on. If we had more queens early on, we would have creep between every base, which would mean that there would not be this open gap right here. It would be fully covered in creep. This is at least covered in creep, which is really nice. But you would have queens, and you would have more of them, in the sense that you would be able to defend this battlecruiser without having to rip off all your injectors off the hatcheries. Because right now, in total, with queen count, we have 3. This battlecruiser is going to be more annoying than it has to be. If you had like 6 or 7 queens right now, this battlecruiser would be a joke. It would be super easy to kill. And you wouldn't have to lose injects. Because let's just watch something really fast, shall we? Let's watch something. What we're going to look at is we're going to look at how much damage the battlecruiser does, plus how much time the hatcheries do not get injected. So this guy fought a spore crawler for a while. I don't know why. He's crazy, I guess. Okay, he lost the battlecruiser. But look at the hatcheries, though. Against a Terran who would not sit on a spore crawler for a while and basically lose the BC. If the thing was still alive and you were still chasing his battlecruisers around, look at all of your hatcheries right now. No inject, no inject, no inject, and it's at 6:38. This hatchery, by the way, has not been injected for probably 30 seconds. But let's just say it starts now, okay? Hypothetically, 6:38 is when it starts, with all the queens currently being out of position. You recovered 2 of your 3 hatcheries pretty quick. Third hatchery, though, is not injecting still. Roaches are doing a good job zoning the Hellions. That's what they're supposed to do. That's well done on that. This hatchery's still not being injected, though. That's a full, like, 40 seconds that have gone by. Or 30 seconds. Almost 40 seconds. That was like 35 seconds that went by with no inject on that natural. And it was like 8 seconds or so, or 7 seconds on your other 2 bases that were missing. My point is if you have more queens, you can defend things all over the place, all over the spectrum of harass. It could be banshees, it could be battlecruisers, it could be medevacs. Queens can just defend a lot of different types of things if you just have enough of them. And you also, yeah, the other thing too is you wouldn't need to make a fuckload of spores like this. This is so many spore colors. Because look at the drone count once again. It's always the same problem. We're at 7.5 minutes, and we're tied with the Terran pretty much in workers. And it's not even like we've lost a fuckload of workers. You've only lost 7 so far. And it's about to go up a little bit more. But only 7 workers have died in 7.5 minutes. At 7.5 minutes, you could have many, many, many more workers than this. So many more. Your supply could also be a lot bigger than this. Like, you could be, honestly, probably around like 130 supply right now. And it's all because of the inefficiencies that have repeatedly happened throughout the early game. Biggest one is your gas. And your tech. You took double gas at your natural so early, and then you also took the gas in the main so early. But now, if I was you at this point now, you're making drones. This is exactly what you need to do. You really need to fucking fix your drone count. You know, it's not looking great. Get everything fully saturated. Get your gases, all your mineral lines fully saturated. You should definitely be there already. I like that you're double expanding because you need to do some catch-up work here with your own economy. Like, you're still, again, you're still ahead of your opponent. But in general, you're going to get, with play like this, like a lot of Terrans are going to ruin your day. Which is kind of the point I'm trying to make here. So catching up on your economy right now is pretty good. I like it. The best thing to do, there's the few things you should be doing are, number 1, making drones like you are. Number 2, keep spreading your creep like you are. That's good. Number 3, go scout his fucking third base. You need to see his third because you need to know if you're able to actually saturate your 4th or your 5th or not. If this guy has a fully saturated third by the time you scout it, or like, you know, if he's in the process of saturating his third and he's like still making battle cruisers or something like that, well, maybe you can get away with some more drones and maybe go into like a Spire with Corruptors or something and you're fine. However, if this guy has no third base, and let's say he's going for like a 2-base Hellion Cyclone all-in with maybe like 4 tanks, don't fucking saturate your 4th base because you're going to die then. If he pushes you. But you really want to scout his third though. And there's no effort to scout his third. So right now, it's blind droning. Blind droning is very risky. You're saturating a 4th base now. You're rallying all your eggs to a 4th. You have the intent to saturate a 4th base with blind vision. Like, you don't know if he took a 3rd or not. Luckily enough, he did. But You did this play last time too, and you really fucking need to see the third. It tells you so much information. It tells you a lot. Am I like off camera? I am kind of off camera. I keep leaning to that side. All right, my bad. Sorry, guys.
Swarm forces under attack. Mutation.
You're saturating a 5th base! Dude, you're nuts! Oh my god. This is asking to die. You have no... Like, if this dude 2 base all into you, you would be absolutely dead. You're obviously someone who likes to be a little greedy. But really, really, really... Listen, I'm going to give you a build again right now. This should be your new Zerg build. This is your new ZvT build. Okay? Here it is. Write this shit down if you, or just, you know, make sure you save the timer of the video right now wherever we're at. And pay attention to this. Your build should be, simply put, hatch, gas pool. We can do a 17, 17, 16 or something, or 17, 18, 17. Go into Zergling speed. Stop mining gas when you have 100. Make 4 lings for a Reaper. Make queens non-stop out of your hatcheries up until 4. So you make 2 rounds of queens per hatch. And as soon as you start queens 3 and 4, start making a round of Zerglings. Make your 3rd base. And remake drones now to saturate your gas. Then, depending on how the pressure goes, if you're safe, like you kind of were this game, like nothing really happened, you can then resume droning once you have like 12 Zerglings. So make lings up to like 12 additional. So if you already had 4, and you just make like 12 more, now you have like 16. You can resume making queens. Make your layer as soon as you have 100 gas. And just go back into droning and queens. And then you know, once you have a little bit of excess money to spare, you know, if you're not blocking your larva, basically, you can throw down a roach warren. That's your whole opener. And you're going to do this up until you're fully saturated on 3 bases. And you're going to make queens until you have about 9 of them. So you have 1 per hatch and then 6 roamers. 6 queens roaming can deal with battlecruisers, they can deal with banshees, they can deal with medevacs, they can deal with hellions. They can spread creep ridiculously fast. And you like to spread creep, which is great. It's a build that will be fucking super good for you. And then you can go off there with one of your lings out of your 16. You can send a ling to his 3rd. Send a ling to his other 3rd. Send a ling to his base as well. Send like 3 lings out. Both 3rds that he could possibly take. And then send one ling to like his doorway. And scout what he's doing. And if you're like, oh, okay, he's probably going mech, you can commit to roaches a little harder. If you're like, no, he's going bio, well, I would recommend not going roaches. You can still make a roach warren, but I'd recommend maybe going into like Ling Hydra Bane or something like that instead. And there you go. And then once you're fully saturated on all 3 bases, as you continue to make drones, those are your gas drones. So if I am 16 out of 16, 16 out of 16, 16 out of 16, and I just made another round of like 11 drones in production, then I go gas, 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 gas. So you take all 5 gases. Just take all 5 gases at the same time once you're fully saturated on 3 mineral lines. And then as soon as you have all those gases fully saturated, and you're starting to make whatever the fuck unit you're going to make because you're fully saturated. This is going to be around 6 minutes, by the way, when you're fully saturated. Whatever unit you start making, start a 4th base at the same time. And then there you go. And then that's like your solid overall early game plan. And your build will be so much better off than it was the way it is this game. And if you're not 100% sure if your opponent's going for air or not, I would say throw down 1 spore crawler per mineral line at 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Because if your opponent rushes cloak, that will be great. That'll be super good at, you know, stopping that. Okay, so you finally scouted. You see that he has gas there. You see he's going mech, it looks like. He's got Hellion tank covering. You see that it looks like he's going to take another base. So now I am okay with your drones, but this is, again, you read it after, or you did it after the fact. Also, I know that people are asking questions in chat. Muffin, I'll read your questions a little bit, but just know that they are major tangents. So I don't really like to read questions too much in chat. But yeah, if you want to ask me questions, sometimes I might answer them. Feel free. There's no guarantee though. It's a huge, like right now what I'm saying. This is going to be in the YouTube video the entire time from now on. It's a major tangent from just doing a replay analysis. We see battle cruisers. You see another base. There's the command center that he's going to put it as fourth. And you're going for a Roach Hydra army. Roach Hydra is only going to be good if you go Viper. But I honestly do not like Roach Hydra against this. You're going Roach Hydra into Corruptor Infestor. I'm just going to pause it really quick and say something. If you know your opponent opens up with Battlecruiser, rather than going Hydra, I would highly recommend the second you're like, oh fuck, this guy's got BCs, start a Spire in your base and just go Roaches. Roach Corruptor is better, much better than pure Hydra against this. Or Roach Hydra against this. Roach Hydra fucking sucks against this. It's really not great. Because battlecruisers, here's why. Battlecruisers can kite your Hydras all day. They can fly away from your Hydras. And your Hydras continuously have to run forward, shoot, run forward, shoot, run forward, shoot, run forward, shoot. And he's going to do things like go over cliffs, go over open airspace, go over dead zones where your Hydras can't follow. And you're going to get some really shitty trades out of your Hydras if you go like this. It's just going to be really bad. Don't ever go Hydras against this. They're awful. All right.
Forces under attack. Mutation complete.
Okay. So there's a lot of problems I'm going to talk about right now. I'll say that it's kind of like this. Right now I see a lot of little problems and one big problem. Your biggest problem is your opening of your economy. Your economy sucked this game really hard. It's still not great right now either. You're making fuckloads of static D again. Like, you're making a fuckload of static D. How many spores do you have? Right now we're going to have 22 spore colors. This is insane. You definitely don't need this many spores, especially if you already have access to a Spire. You just got to be a lot more confident in the fact that if your opponent pushes into your base, Corruptors are great. Corruptors are super good. But what's happening right now is you just dipped your own economy back into like shit range. You're sub 3 base saturation once again. And you are making drones to fix it, but this is really not great. This is, even if your 13 drones weren't even made into spores yet, and you're at 70 drones, that's still not great economy at this stage of the game. And the stage of the game you're in right now is split map scenario. You're in a situation where your Terran opponent has hunkered down, he's turtled up, he's got his base going, and you've done kind of the same thing. You've got your creep really well surrounding your base. You're protected with vision, basically. And you're in the stage where you're going to be looking for trades. You're going to poke each other back and forth. It's going to be like whoever makes a mistake-ish in general, whatever. But you're both controlling your sides of the map right now. Neither one of you has the ability to kill the other one right now. So giving yourself a really shitty bank and giving yourself really shitty income is not a great idea. Ideally, in this kind of a situation, you'd want to be like between the range of 80 to 90 drones. Realistically. In a split map scenario. I'm not against making static D, but I would say you made it way too early and you also made way too much of the wrong kind. Making like one spore per base is more than enough if you have corruptor tech already unlocked. You would have been much better off actually going for something like one spore and 2 spines per base. Because if I were you, and I was up against a guy going mech with battlecruisers, I would be much more afraid of Hellions running by the map when my roaches are out of position and killing all my drones with blue flame than I would be about battlecruisers teleporting in my base. Which is what I think you're afraid of. Because here's why. If a Terran player teleports like fucking 10 battlecruisers into your base, just know that you now have like, what is the cooldown? It's like 90 seconds or some shit. I want one that hasn't done it yet. It's a 71-second cooldown. You have over a minute to kill them, and you're fine. It's very rare that a Terran player is going to be like, teleport right in your base, and then that's what he's going to do. Because if he does that, and you have a bunch of corruptors go back and just kill them, you can just run your drones away from that base or whatever, and then just rebuild whatever dies, and then he'll guaranteed lose more than you do if he throws away like 10 battlecruisers. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be easy peasy for you. But if you really are obsessed with making static D like this, I will say I still wouldn't mind it if you made this much static D if you did it off of like 100 drones. You're just making it way too early, and you're like taking your economy and getting it okay, and then it's going back to shit again. When you should make your economy good and then get it a little way too greedy and then make static D. If you're gonna make static D, make drones that you don't even need right now, and then those are gonna become your static D more or less. If that makes sense. Like, yeah, just don't undersaturate your bases to make static D, because again, let's look at it really fast. Watch when these things finish. We're gonna watch it when the static D all finishes. It's finishing like now. A lot of them have already finished. We'll say it at 14 minutes, okay? At 14 minutes. I'm just gonna fast forward this really fast and see what happens. So we'll go to the exact moment he did it. At 15 minutes and 12 seconds, a good 72 seconds later, he did this. This is fucking awful, by the way. Because if you have Corruptor, you could literally turn around and kill his entire army. Hydras will suck balls here. Hydra, this supply is awful. This is really, really bad. But if this guy does something like this, if you just have Corruptors, you automatically win the game. Because he has no escape now. You can kill every BC. This is such an each one of these BCs is worth 700 resources. So it's expensive as fuck to do this. And you already even have Corruptors and even Infestors nearby. You have 5 Neurals ready to go. And you have 16 Corruptors. If you actually got 5 Neurals off on 10 BCs and then had 16 Corruptors kill the rest, you would easily win this fight. But my point is, though, that we're from earlier with static D. You have an okay drone count now, but just imagine if instead of building the spores when you did, you built all those drones first, and then your drone count went up to like 90 or something, and then you built like 16 spores, back down to like 74 drones. That would still it's still not a great drone count. I would say like 80 to 90 is a great drone count. But just in general, if you just make the drones a little bit in excess, like an excessive amount, and then make static D, it's so much fucking better. Because it's too early anyways what you did. Like it's It's just paranoia, more or less. But here's, again, going back to this again. If your opponent does something like this, this should not be something you should be scared about. This should be something that you should look at and go, if my opponent does this, he doesn't know what he's doing, and he's throwing the game away. We'll see how you deal with it. All you have to do right now is literally walk your infestors over there, burrow them. If you have burrow, you do. Burrow your infestors, go over here, and just fucking neural parasite. There's no chance he's going to dodge it because he can't teleport away at the last second. You neural parasite these BCs to get rid of their damage on your corruptors, so your corruptors guaranteed win here. And then once you neural parasite the BCs, just focus fire his battlecruisers with your corruptor. That's all you got to do. And at the same time, make more corruptor. Like, it would be like, this is what I would do if I were you right now. If I was you, this is what I would do. This, who gives a fuck? Don't even micro this at all. If you spend 1 second doing this, you're wasting your time. It should be infestor group, go over there. Corruptor group, go over there. Hatcheries, make corruptor. Make like another 16. That's it. And then once the corruptor infestor get over here, neural. Corruptors, when you are neuraling, your corruptors should be on a move. And then once you have finished neuraling, you should then start focus firing. Let's look at your production really fast. You're not making any corruptors. You're making roaches. Corruptors are huge here. You're risking the biscuit a little bit. You're also, the other thing too that's kind of scary is you're neuraling right on the ramp, and the 2 infestors in the front are going to block your back 3 from actually getting neurals off, so you're actually effectively only going to neural 2 of the 8 battlecruisers. You're probably still going to win this fight though. But the army that you want to be really like going for here, I would say, is mostly like at this point now with the fact that you have double spire, go into like a fucking greater spire and just go broodlords against mech, because like broodlord corruptor would be so good against something like this. Because you've already committed to it. If you're gonna go broodlord, or sorry, if you're gonna go corruptor hydra roach, that's really not good. And then one more thing too, let's take a quick peek really fast. Remember what I said about how Hellions are actually a bigger problem than BCs are? Because look, you have a fuckload of spores, and your corruptors and your infestors are actually dealing with, like, you have no spores here anymore. I think your main base only had like 1 or 2, or sorry, I think I had 3. Your main base had like 3 spores anyways, and all 3 of those spores died like immediately to 10 BCs teleporting in your base. And your spores aren't even doing, like, all these spores you made aren't doing anything. But look at this. You've got Hellions in this base just roasting your fucking drones because you have no spines, which are actually more important. Your corruptors are split attacking right now, so your corruptors are going to lose this fight. And you're making more now. It's a little late, but you're still doing it. So you're going to be fine. Like, you're going to kill the BCs. And this dude just threw away a ass load of resources. You've actually lost more in general, but this Terran just threw away an ass, like, he threw away 7,000 resources doing that attack. That was, yeah. What the fuck? That's crazy. 7,000? Yep. This Terran just teleported 10 fucking battlecruisers into your base. That is 7,000 resources of units that he just went, teleport. They're dead. He's currently only got 2,000 in the bank. That's expensive as fuck. That's why he's not able to max anymore. And also, the reason why you can't max right now is because look at your economy. Once again, your economy has been butchered. And it's because Hellions just wiped out your mineral lines again. But yeah. So now we have Corruptor. At this stage of the game, I would say the most important thing you want to be doing is remaking drones, getting your drone count under control again, and going into Broodlord, Corruptor, and I guess you can go Infestor as well. That would be fine. The thing about Roach Hydra is as soon as your opponent has something like this, where they have a bunch of tanks and a PF and stuff, this army becomes a complete walking turd, basically. Let's watch how good this army is. You're gonna kill a defenseless orbital command for sure. No matter what army you make, as long as it can hit air, would be able to do that. Corruptors could do that. Hydras could do that. Let's see this army at work, though. Luckily enough, I would say this is probably the best way you could attack him, because he has everything so like heavily focused over on the right side of his base. He has really shit defense on his left side. So this was about the best way you could have done this. And this is something I would say if you had a bad army, which is what this is, you would definitely want to split your army up and try to take trades against the Terran like this. Like try to get around the sides of his base and like fuck him up in ways that he might not be prepared to defend. But if this Terran was a little bit more prepared and he had like, let's say a tank here, a tank here, a tank here, a tank up here. He's got like 3 tanks over here. Like maybe a tank there, a tank here, a tank here, a tank over here. It just, what I'm trying to say is if you were coming up this ramp and getting hit by like 3 tanks, like one there, one here, and like one over here, your army would be getting fucking demolished coming up this ramp right now. And then if you commit further into his base and he's got like another tank back here and like, you know, more army coming over here, the battlecruisers are coming over, you would very likely lose very very hard here and do very shitty damage. It wouldn't be great. And then meanwhile, you know, spines are great because you're getting attacked by Hellions again and it's happening all over again where your drone count is going even further down. You've lost 66 drones now. And I'm not going to lie, I think about probably only like 16 of these 66 have died to battlecruisers. And 50 of your drones have died to Hellion harass. There we go. Now some of his tanks are starting to work. As soon as you get within tank range, this army just gets obliterated. And now let's look really quick at your production. You're starting to make drones again, but your drone count's looking pretty sad at the moment. At this point in time, I would say you really need to take a moment here to look at your bases and go, what the fuck is going on? Look at your natural, fix it. You have drones idle. You have 2 drones oversaturated. Look at your main. You have 0. You haven't fixed it ever since those battlecruisers came in your base. Look at your third base. You have not fixed this since that earlier Hellion harass during the same time when battlecruisers were in your base. And your fourth base over here just got attacked by Hellions. You're making drones now though, so it'll fix probably. This hatchery is still rallied to the mineral. You have no eggs rallied anywhere. All your hatcheries are actually rallied to this mineral line that you just made, so 8 drones are going to come here, which is going to mean this hatchery is going to be 17 out of 16 and 3 out of 3 on this gas. So this base will be fixed, but it'll be 1 over. This base is a little undersaturated. It's not the biggest deal though, because this base should be the somewhat undersaturated one, because I know I keep leaning at a camera. My bad. It's because this base is your newest one, so this one should be where drones are transferring to anyways that are starting to oversaturate other bases. But it's something you would fix once you fix the other bases. You're making more drones. Thank God. I like it. You're going over here now. But now he's pushing you. And now you're in a situation where your army is Roach, Hydra, Corruptor, Infestor. I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there. The difficulty level of a Roach, Hydra, Corruptor, Infestor army is really high. You have no actual unit to start the fight. Like, what starts the fight there? Roach, Hydra? That would be the most logical one. Roach, Hydra starts the fight with an army composition of Roach, Hydra, Corruptor, Infestor. But if your opponent has tanks that are sieged, what are you going to do about that? Like, there's nothing you can do. You just get fucking pounded. So now he's got siege tanks. Your Roach Hydra aren't even attacking either. They're just counterattacking. You're just fighting. You're trying to fight a mech army. So you're trying to fight against a mech army with Corruptor Infestor, and you're trying to hit his bases with Roach Hydra. This is scary because if he just spreads tanks out defensively and has planetaries and repairs at the right time, this army will very likely get thinned out and killed really fast. And the reason why this is also scary of just relying on just Corruptor Infestor is because if this guy were to actually simply Yamato first before he fought and kill your investors or kill your corruptors with Yamato, with what he currently has, there is very low chance that your army is going to be able to overpower what he has. And if this guy were to push you with, let's say instead of these Vikings, let's just say hypothetically he made like 4 Thors. What do? Like you literally can do nothing against that because you don't have enough infestors to Yamato every single unit he had. You have no way to control the ground is what I'm trying to say. And the other thing, the last thing, let's just go back to what he currently does have. Let's just say that this guy leapfrogs tanks forward, and he always keeps his air within a tank range of coverage. So like his air is always, if you run an infestor to fungal growth or neural parasite in their unit, you're going to be walking into the edge of tank range and getting hit by a siege tank. What does this army do then? It can't do anything. The only reason why this ever would work is because your opponent is so fucking impatient and they open up their themselves to a lot of different types of damage that shouldn't be happening. Like Corruptor Infestor is nice, but it's missing something. It's missing something that can deal with like actually shoving the Terran, which is a Broodlord. If this guy had Thors or he knew how to use his tanks better, you would just get fucked. You wouldn't be able to do anything against this. See, now he's doing it. Now he's shoving the tanks forward, and now suddenly your Neural's going to end, and you could almost cast another 2 Neurals here, but your Infestors are just about to, they're about to get fucking clapped in 3, 2, 1. Infestors are no longer useful. This game is becoming a really hectic game that does not need to be a hectic game. Like, a lot of what's happening right now could be avoided if you had, first of all, if you had Broodlord, these tanks would have been killed a long time ago. Second of all, like, this should be Broodlords. So in terms of supply. And instead of going for Roach Hydra attacks, you should be going for, like, honestly, I would say Zergling. Zergling counters are so much better because they're so much less supply costly. And they also don't cost gas. If you're investing gas into counterattacking, it just weakens your death ball. I like that you're making Lings now. Lings will clean up these tanks. But, yeah. Like, Lings... Also, you don't even need Lings to defend, though. It's... Your army should always be fighting his army. Like, if you're going to go... if you're going to be going for this kind of a comp, just commit to it and go Broodlord. Lings are really good at counters. They should not be used in the defense of your... Or, like, fighting his army in general. I don't mind that you did it right there, because it worked, it was fine, but... My point I'm trying to make here is it got to a point that was already really bad. Shouldn't get to that point. We lost game zones? I know, it's because I'm trying to talk and it was hard to talk over the battlecruisers. Oops. But yeah. I don't know, dude. I'm trying to, like, explain this without repeating myself 100 times. I'm going to pause it and I'm just going to say this. When you go up against Mech, I don't want you to think about what you're up against. I want you to do this against literally... I want you to think about Terran like this. Is Terran going bio? Or is Terran going Mech? Make it that simple. It doesn't matter what the fuck he's going for. He could be going for Mass Hellion Cyclone. He could be going for Banshees and Liberators. He could be going for Liberator Ghost. He could be going for Battlecruisers. He could be going for Siege Tank Thor. I don't give a fuck what he's doing. Every Terran player that goes Mech is going to do the same thing with their Hellions. They are always going to try to run Hellions around the map at some point in time, and they're going to fuck your base up. And they're going to kill your drones if you're not prepared. So here's what you want. Here's what I want you to do. When you play against Mech and you know it's Mech, and you currently have a good saturation of your bases, we're not talking 45 drones. We're not talking 55 drones. We're not talking 62 drones. We're talking like 80 drones. 80 drones. I don't mind if you build a spore a little bit sooner than this. You can literally put a spore down at every single base when it starts. And that's fine. It's just one spore. But once you have like 80 drones, and you're like, all right, it's that stage where you're telling yourself, I'm going to move out. He might counterattack me. I might get attacked on the sides. I might not see him right away. I might have to go back home and defend. But I'm going to move out. I'm going to start attacking more. That stage, every single base you own, spine, 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 spine. Like one spine on both sides of the mineral line. Like here and here. 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 2 fucking spines per base. Every base. And I want you at the exact same time when you start making these spines to also just make another round of drones of like, let's say like 16 drones. And if your drone count at the end of this ends up being 84, if it ends up being 82, if it ends up being 80, 81, 79, all of these numbers are pretty acceptable. I just don't want you to have fucking 62 drones again once you make these spines. And then once you have these spines, you're good to go. That's stage 1 of, you don't got to worry about Hellions fucking roasting your drones all day, unless they become Hellbats or something, and then, you know, fix that as it goes. Maybe you send some units over to deal with it or some shit. But just at the bare minimum, 2 spines per base, and you're gonna be great. Another thing I recommend is against Mech, stop getting so many upgrades like you are, especially off the Evo chambers. Right now you have 3/3 Roach Hydra, and you have you have 1/3 Zergling and 3/3 Roach Hydra. Roach Hydra, unless you plan on doing a Roach Hydra Viper bust, don't ever go Roach Hydra. Ever. Like literally ever. Roach Hydra is so fucking bad unless you're going to combine it with Viper and you're going to bust him. And the point of that is you're going to try to break his Mech army down so much with Viper that you're going to just overwhelm him and remax Roach Hydra, remax Roach Hydra, remax Roach Hydra, remax Roach Hydra. And you're going to keep doing it so much that you're going to break his economy and he can't ever... He like can't keep up with you. That's the only way you ever want to play that style against Mech. If you're just randomly running Roach Hydra on the map, it's fucking awful. Because it's going to never really pay its weight in gold or in resources. And all it does is it just like kind of like uses up your gas bank. It's just going to waste your gas. That's why Roach Hydra is, again, that's the biggest reason, is because of your gas. It costs a lot to go for a Roach Hydra counter of like 30 or 40 supply over and over. And it's not worth it. Counterattacks 100% should be done by Zerglings. And your upgrades, I don't mind that you can have 2 Evo chambers. I don't mind this. But the second you 100% know it's Mech, stop getting fucking Carapace. And if you want to go crazy on upgrades, I wouldn't mind getting range weapons and melee weapons. But realistically, you could do this off of 1 Evo chamber against Mech, and you could get melee, melee, melee. And then later on, if you really think you need it, you could then start getting range weapons. And the only reason why you get range weapons is for infested Terrans. It's the only reason. You don't get it for Hydras. You don't get it for Queens. Even though Queens could use it. You're still not going mass Queens here. The Queen DPS is negligible whether you do or don't have an upgrade, because you're going to have in total like 4 Queens. And we're talking in-game Mech versus Zerg. And then you're not ever really going to go Swarmmost in-game either. Really, the only unit you're going to get a benefit from is a Infested Terran that gets spawned from an Infester. And the only time that's ever really going to happen is if your opponent teleports into your fucking army with battlecruisers and you're like, alright, we need Infested Terrans, because guaranteed he's not teleporting away now. And I need to have a little bit extra here of anti-air defense to be able to overpower these, because I'm actually not sure if I want to win this fight or not. Like maybe he's got other shit tied into it too that you're like, it might not really be a smart idea here to neural because I'm about to lose everything. Or whatever. For whatever reason. Maybe he's got a bunch of ghosts as well and you're like, I don't want to get fucking sniped or something. For whatever reason, if you want to use Infested Terran, getting range weapons would be fine for that. Because they are useful sometimes. But that's it. But your lings, if you get ling weapons and adrenal glands and your upgrades and stuff for your melee, not only would it upgrade your broodlords, but it would also upgrade your lings to do counters. And I'm not going to lie, even if a Terran has Planetary Fortress, if you have adrenal gland zerglings, okay, let's say you make 20 supply of zergling and you wrap around the side of the map over here and you're coming up, and let's just pretend there's a Planetary Fortress here with a mineral line that has like 12 SCVs on it. If you fully run by a command center and get a full surround on it and then A-move it, which means the SCVs can't fit room in to repair it, if the Terran does not get enough SCVs in on the command center, this is all kind of based on RNG, based on where the command center is shooting at. If it's shooting opposite of the mineral line, there's a good chance the command center will die. If it is shooting in the mineral line, where the zerglings are, if it's shooting like the top side, and the SCVs start having room to repair, there's a good chance it won't die. But there is a good chance you'll kill a lot of SCVs in the process, no matter what. Because SCVs on repair are considered hostile, and they will get hit by zerglings. But my point I'm trying to make here is it's a small investment for a potential big gain. And there's a very high chance you could kill a command center. Even if it's a planetary. If you have level 3 weapons and adrenal glands. Those things fucking destroy buildings. So it's just more worth it, and you're not wasting your gas when you're doing this. You're just kind of poking him a little bit with something. You're keeping him. You're finding out where his army is possibly, or you might be killing a base. And then if you can somehow get lings in his base, like by a run by or through like a nidus or some shit, lings are amazing at just wiping out starports and factories and supply depots and tech buildings. They're so good. They fucking own buildings so fast. They like lings kill buildings for equal supply. Lings kill buildings way faster than roaches and hydras do. So they're better in every way. And realistically, if your opponent has like a good amount of tanks defending his base and shit, and he's like really prepared to defend, it does not matter if you send zerglings or roach hydra at him. You're never going to kill him anyways. In terms of counter attacks, it's because he's prepared. But at least if you're doing lings instead of roach hydra, you'll have way more of supply bank ready to go for your big army, and also resources to be invested into your big army, which makes your big army just more powerful. Carapace is literally worthless though on ground. And in terms of air, I would say get a fucking Greater Spire. The second a Spire is done, it's very important. And then once you start a Greater Spire, if you want to go for both upgrades at the same time, that would be the time to start a second Spire. And you could get both upgrades. But I'm going to pause it one more time and just explain upgrades for the Spire now really quick. If you are going up against a Terran player who is going Battlecruiser or Liberator, I would recommend getting Carapace first. Like if it's a really, if it is a very heavy Liberator base Terran, maybe he's going Liberator Ghost, maybe he's going Liberator Raven, Liberator Banshee. If it's just a fuckload of Liberators, I would recommend Carapace before weapons as your primary upgrade if you're going to go off of one Spire. If you're going up against a Terran who is doing anything else that is mech, that is not Liberators and not Battlecruisers, weapons are better. Carapace is fucking terrible against Cyclones. It's actually just worthless against Cyclones. It's really bad against Thors. It's what else can Terran have that can shoot your air? It's not super impactful against Vikings. It does help a little bit, but yeah, against Cyclone, it's irrelevant. Against Thors, it's not super good. Against Vikings, it's meh. But against Liberators and Battlecruisers, it's amazing. But yeah, you can kind of just gauge it off of what the hell he's making. In this game, he was a Battlecruiser Terran, so I would say Carapace would be your go-to upgrade here. But again, it's fine though. If you want to get 2 Spires, by the time you have a Greater Spire, to get both upgrades, I'm not against that. That's okay. That's not bad. You could totally afford it. Just know that if you don't go double Spire, you'll have a little bit of a faster timing to be able to use something and hit him with it. I will never say double Spire is bad though against mech. It's not. I would almost always recommend going double Spire no matter what. But you should be doing it much later than you did, and you should definitely have a Greater Spire. Like, you prioritize Double Spire this game, and no Greater Spire at all, when I would say your priority should have been 1 Greater Spire, and then you could have got a 2nd Spire a lot later on, and you would have been fine. The lack of Broodlords here is crazy. Here come the Hellions again to roast more drones. This is such a low economy game. Like, okay, right here. This is fucking way overdoing it. Way overdoing it. You're like, fuck! My drones keep dying! Fuck you! You want to know the funny thing? If this guy was really, if he really wanted to, I do think this is a hole here. I think he could run like 10 Hellions down and run into the back of your mineral line and just sit right here. And probably like 6 of them would get through. Or like 7. And he could just sit there and kill all your drones. Yeah. It would suck. Seriously, 2 spines per base. I know it's a replay, and you know the replay is what it is, but really take that fucking advice. It's super important. And then if your opponent is really obsessed with run bys on your base, this is all you got to do. 2 spines per base forever, and then at your brand new bases, like this one is an example here. It's a brand new base. Spine. Like spine between the gas and minerals here, spine between the gas and minerals here, just like we said a second ago. And if your opponent is obsessed with Hellion run-bys, put a box around the hatchery of spines instead of just 2 spines. So you could go spine there, and you know what would happen? 8 fucking Hellions run into mineral. 8 Hellions run into the mineral line. You don't micro it at all. You do nothing. These Hellions, if they're microed, they will probably kill 10 drones. 8 to 10 drones. If he sends 8 Hellions in to kill 8 to 10 drones, that is a trade. That you can. That's actually not bad for you because he lost more minerals than you did in that trade. And then especially if you're attacking him with some big fat army at the same time. Let's say your Broodlords are attacking his base over here, and he's trying to micro Hellions. You're probably just going to win the game because he's not going to do. He's not like this is the important part. This is not the important part. And if he's wasting time trying to focus fire drones, he's going to lose the game. And then also, if he doesn't micro this, let's just say he sends, like, he just right-clicks 8 Hellions. Go there. Fuck it. Whatever happens, happens. His spines will automatically start hitting your spines instead because they're hostile. And you might lose maybe 1 or 2 drones in the crossfire of, like, the splash of a Hellion. And he'll lose all of his Hellions to spines. The only way your hatchery is going to break in this situation is if he sends, like, 8 Hellions over here and stops, like, right there and goes Hellbats. And then he overpowers your hatchery with Hellbats. But if he has Hellbats, you can run away from Hellbats, no problem. A drone runs faster than a Hellbat. And then you can grab whatever you need to grab in the area to deal with it and go, all right, we're good. Pfft. Denied. And then resaturate accordingly. And replace a spine that gets killed. So 4 spines in a box or in a hatchery on a new, fresh base once it gets to this point in the game. Otherwise, 2 spines per base. 2 spines per base, 2 spines per base, 2 spines per base. And you won't have to deal with Hellion pressure like this. This is fucking extremely overkill. And this isn't even properly defended because, like I said before, you still have a hole right there. If there was like 3 or 4 Hellions sitting right there, that's all it would take. He could roast an entire mineral line sitting right there out of range of all your spines. But yeah, neither one of you makes an economy properly, though. 47 to 59. And neither one of you are trying to make workers right now. You're both just trying to, like, max out. Okay, you're making workers, thank God. But it's not enough either. Like, you're constantly sitting at this, like, but you're making... What the fuck just happened? Oh, you're losing units. I take it back. He teleported on you. So, to deal with shit like this... This is something you'll have to just, it's annoying, but this is something you should be doing. Against a player who goes battle cruisers, try your best to send just one Overlord in dark spots of the side of the map. Like there should be 1 Overlord over here. There should be 1 Overlord like there. 1 Overlord like there. 1 Overlord up there. And like maybe like 1 Overlord over there. These ones fairly close to his base that aren't as necessary because there's a good chance they're going to die. But like this one, super important. This one would be super important. And this one would be like super important. Same thing on the bottom side. There. There. Just like every screen, every new screen, just one Overlord. There. And like maybe one there. And that'd be fucking perfect. And the reason why is because right now, if a battlecruiser attack happened against you in the middle of the map, no matter where it went, you would get fucking wind of it. You would catch wind of, oh, there's battlecruisers coming across the map. It's the only part of the map you don't have explored right now, and this top expansion here. But you have enough vision, like over here, over here, over here, over here, over here. You could see very realistically, no matter where he came through the middle of the map. It would be very easy to see. And if you ever spotted battlecruisers on the side of the map, just with, like, one Overlord dies, and you're like, what the fuck? There's like 10 big boxes over there. You know what? You want to know a great counter to that? Here's something that I guarantee would work every fucking game for you. And you have your units separated, you did earlier. You don't now. But let's just say, hypothetically, you have 6 infestors. Let's just say 6 infestors. They burrow, and they go the direction of the battlecruisers where they're coming. Let's say you saw these battlecruisers right here. Overlord gets killed. Your infestors, where are they? Your infestors are right here. Overlord dies right now. Your infestors immediately burrow and go this way. They start going up here, this way. And by the time the battlecruisers get like right there, because your infestors are on creep and they run faster than a battlecruiser does, battlecruiser moves at 2.6, and infestor moves at 3.15 plus 0.94. A battlecruiser moves like 60% faster than infestor moves like 60% faster than a battlecruiser. You could get here faster than he can. And let's say right when he gets here, you're burrowed and you neural parasite 6 battlecruisers right away. Okay, you neural 6 right away. And then let's say you have corruptors as well. A good amount of corruptors. And let's say your corruptors are right there. And with these 6 battlecruisers you just neuraled, you teleport them into your... You like literally say, teleport into my corruptors. You fucking force them to teleport into your own corruptor. And now he can't leave because you just burned his teleport. And you teleported him into what he's going to now die to, which is your corruptor army. That's a great way to just fucking own somebody who does something like this. And suddenly... You have 6 infestors and he has 8 BCs. Suddenly this attack becomes only 2 BCs that can still teleport away. And if your infestors have enough energy, which let's just say they don't, they can then teleport away if you go over and try to kill them. That's just one way you could do it. Another way you could do it is literally just fly your corruptors at him. If you fly your corruptors at him, though, what most likely will happen if the turn is not bad is he will probably cast all of his Yamatos and then teleport away. At best, you'll kill 1 BC, if not 0. And then you'll lose the amount of BC he has in Yamato. That's how many units you'll lose. But either way works. You save your economy either way. Worst case scenario is you just let him come to your economy willy-nilly and you lose everything. And he teleported most of them away. Okay, you built a Greater Spire. I'm very happy. Now, from now on, this fucking production tab better have 0 roaches and 0 hydras the rest of the game. But the biggest problem, here's the big problem. I'm gonna reiterate one more time. The bank. Let's look at your main base. It's pretty much mined out. Let's look at your natural. Mined out. Let's look at your third base. Mined out. Let's look at your 4th, 5th, and 6th. This one's got a little bit left. It's got like probably like 40% of the resources left. This one's got about probably like 25% of the resources left. It's starting to really get close to mining out. And this one's got most of the resources. This one's probably got like 90% or 80% of the resources left. Pretty much like 90. Some of the patches are kind of low. Probably like 80% of the resources left here. It's got a lot. This is a good base. But my point is look at your gas bank right now. It's like non-existent. And the only bases you can really mine from right now are the more exposed, risky bases at this point. All your comfortable bases are gone, essentially. So, if you put yourself in a situation now where if you lose one fight, all it takes is one fight. You lose one fight, and you give your opponent map control. and then he uses that map control to kill your newer expansions, you have now lost the game. Because you have inefficiently used your resources early on. So has he. He's done a couple really bad moves, like teleporting 10 BCs in your base and losing 7,000 resources. But you have lost so much resources that you have depleted your bank and you don't really have one to work with, which is what this army really needs. This army is so fucking expensive. It's so good. It's amazing, but it's so expensive. So this game is now in a very awkward position for you. I swear to God, if you just make a few, like 2 spines per base, your life will be so much easier. And that one overseer thing again, or the one overlord thing again. How many infestors do you have now? You have 11. This guy right now has 11 battlecruisers in this army. There is a 12th battlecruiser somewhere. I don't know where it is, but we can click on watch. There it is right there. That's his 12th battlecruiser. He has 11 fucking battlecruisers and you have 11 infestors. If you had an overseer or overlord over here and you saw he's coming from this way and you moved your infestors like right there or right here and let him come to you. Let's just watch and see if he scans. Let's watch. He should, by the way. Look how vulnerable this is. Look how risky this motherfucker is. 100% you would win. Like, if you just had enough corruptor to kill this, which would be probably like 30 corruptors, realistically. And then you had... And like the other thing too is you don't even need necessarily to knurl him and teleport him away. He doesn't scan anything. You could actually have infestors burrowed right here so that he thinks it's okay, and you could have corruptors right next to it. And the second you knurl him, you just bring corruptors in and you make him Yamato cannon himself instead of teleporting. And then after he Yamato's himself, whatever's left, then you teleport it in the exact same spot it already is, just to burn his teleport, so that if knurl ends on any of these BCs, they cannot teleport home. You know what I mean? This guy would be so fucked by Neural. And you're using infestors, so you have the ability to do it. It's just you don't know where he is. I'm gonna watch you kill these. Okay, so you already understand that mindset, the logic. You were already doing it. You're already teleporting himself into himself. Like you're teleporting him in the area where you're making sure you're burning his cooldown, which is great. Your creep throughout the game is doing a great job for you. The opener I gave you earlier, the recommendation of the queens, will make your creep even scarier. Your creep is definitely your strong point, though. Like, you're capable of spreading it throughout a game, which is good. I love the Ling counterattack now. I wish these Lings were the ones with level 3 weapons, though, instead of your range weapons, and you don't have it started. It makes a big difference. Back to your vision again. So your composition is becoming what? Yes, bad worker count still. 8, literally. Not good. 80. 80 to 90. Sear that into your brain now, for real. You've this entire game of 30 minutes, you've been under that saturation the whole time. And you've lost 116 drones because you didn't make any spines really. But still, even when you're losing drones, you're still not remaking drones to the point where you should be. You're always undersaturated, and then you take damage, and you're super undersaturated. And then you resaturate to still an undersaturated amount. So you're making a bunch of spines. Where are you doing this? I don't mind this. I do not mind the amount of defense you put here. But I do kind of don't like where you put it. This would be my recommendation. And this is why I'm about to say what I'm about to say. If this dude had Hellions running down right here, for instance. Let's say the Hellions are coming this way. And then he like pokes this base. He's like, oh, the spine's here. I'm going to go poke this base instead. And he kills this base. I'm not harping on your lack of spines here at the moment, but let's just say he kills this base. And then he decides, you know what, I'm going to go back to this base now. And he brings the Hellions around this way, and he runs behind the mineral line. This is a spine crawler. This is a spine. This is a spore. 2 spines would poke him as he came around the corner. If he had, like, let's say 5 Hellions, 1 Hellion might die to 2 spines poking it twice. It might not hit it all the time, though, because this spine only might hit once. This spine will definitely hit twice. This spine might only hit once. Anyways, the Hellions then come down to here. The Hellions are now here. This is a spore crawler. The closest spine, this is also a spore crawler here. The closest spine to this is right there. If Hellions were sitting right there, they could roast your entire mineral line and be fucking annoying again. And this spine wouldn't be able to hit them. So, I like this spine. So if I had to re-evaluate where you should put this shit, you have 3 spores. Spores should be like this. Spore there. Spore there. Spore there. I like this spore's placement. But the other spores should be there and there. Or like just on the sides of the base. The sides of the gas. And then your spines should be there, 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 and maybe like one over here. Or one over here. Either one. You have 4 spines would be behind, in, and then something on the side of the hatchery. Or the side of the gas area would be fine. That way you have no hole. Because what Hellions are going to do, okay? If Hellions are going to sit here poking your fucking hatchery all day, that's not realistic. It's not going to happen. No one's going to fucking make 6 Hellions come over here and start smacking a hatchery. And even if he did, if you had one spine that was kind of excess, you could literally go uproot, move here, root. Forget about it forever. I'm fine. What Hellions are going to do is they're always going to run past your spines, if they can, into your mineral line and kill your drones. So having open area in your mineral line, like back down here, that's awful. You should always be expecting him to go to your mineral line, and you should always have your spines placement ready to go to defend your mineral line, basically. Okay, now we have a big fight going on. Here's something you should do. Always burrow your infestors if your plan is to not fungal growth. And right now, we can clearly see your plan is to neural parasite him. I would highly recommend burrowing them because it increases the chances that they won't die to a lot of random shit. Like, for instance, if you had a tank sieged in the area, or your infestor was in the front, but he doesn't have detection, possibly seeing exactly where your infestor is. And then the other thing too, this is a big recommendation, a big tip for anyone out there that wants to become better at neural parasite. Here's a big tip. What's your neural infestor hotkey? Or your neural parasite hotkey? It's V. What's your, or that's mine actually, sorry. These are my hotkeys. Match your neural parasite hotkey to your ability hotkey that you want to spam. So notice, my Yamato Cannon hotkey is V. My neural parasite hotkey is V. This way I'm not fucking hitting 2 different buttons on the keyboard, fat finger and shit. You know, I'm not hitting like E and Y, which is what I think the defaults are for neural parasite and Yamato. Hit the same button. It's so fucking easy. Because your hand stays level on the keyboard. It's super easy peasy. You don't need to spam teleport. Teleport's easy. You hit it once and it's over. But you will spam Yamato Cannon because you're doing it with every battlecruiser. You gotta hit it like... If you're neuraling 10 battlecruisers, you can Yamato 10 times. So making them the same hotkey is great. Because you can go neural, 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 neural. And then grab green box the BCs and go Yamato, 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 Yamato. And suddenly you just fucking burned all of his Yamatos. And you just did a shitload of damage to his own army. It's amazing. Super good. And then after the Yamatos are over, whatever BCs are left, you can then teleport them to the same spot they're already at. So you burn it, so he's stuck there. And now you're great. Now that's a great way to use the infestors. To their like maximum potential. But even if you don't, what's it called? use the abilities when you neural them, it's still okay. You're still making the most of it. But just know that your composition is a little off. And this is what I'm gonna. This is the other thing I want to tell you before we really get into this and break it down. You need to really try your best to maybe make some changelings or something to scout what your opponent's doing, and just know that if your opponent is going for a sky army, 8 broodlords is the maximum you should ever have, and if your opponent is going for a ground army, 8 broodlords is the minimum you should ever have. You have 12. 12 is pretty fucking solid versus like a Thor army. Or like a ground army. 12 is overkill. It's excessive against a battlecruiser army. And this dude's army is mostly battlecruisers. So if you had 4 less broodlords, it might sound crazy, but that would be 8 more corruptors. And you're also doing this with 11 roaches. I fucking hate this. Like if this was me, I would be freaking out. I'd be like, this fucking sucks. This right here is 22 supply of corruptor, which is this one roach is the same supply as 1 corruptor. You could have 11 more corruptors instead of this, which would mean you'd have 24 corruptors. And then on top of that, if you had 4 less broodlords and 8 more corruptor, that would now put you at 32 corruptor. You could have 32 corruptor instead of 13 if you just rearranged this. Get rid of that. Drop that down to 8. 32 corruptor would fucking annihilate 12 BCs. I'm gonna see if you win this fight. That's a negative. And remember what I said a second ago? Or really probably like an hour ago? I said, because of how you open up the early game with Roach Hydra and you depleted your bank of gas, if you lose one fight, just one fight, you will never be able to remake your army fast enough to defend your expansions. And if your expansions die, you are going to lose the game. You just gave this Terran the ability now to counter push you because you have fought with an inefficient army. And now, if your expansions die, which they guaranteed will die if you pushes them, you'll have no gas income. You have no income at all, really. And you can literally make only 10 corruptors right now. And 10 corruptors will once again die to this. 7 BCs, especially if they have Yamato by the time the corruptors spawn, 7 BCs will kill 10 corruptor. What are you making? You're making corruptor. Okay, that's good. Okay, so he pulled back as well. You actually made more corruptor than I thought you were making. I think you made a couple of corruptors during that fight because you had 19. You had more than what the gas looked like. So you spent some more, which is great. But you are still trailing in resources lost overall. Also, I'm just going to throw it out there. This dude does not use planetary fortresses at all. What this guy does is he made one planetary fortress, and then I think this one was an attempted planetary fortress. No, this was an orbital. He literally, what this guy does is he makes one planetary fortress, and then he repeatedly lifts off his main natural third base to new bases. Is what it looks like he's doing. Like, having a fucking orbital just super exposed like this is so bad. Just in general. It's not good at all. It's like the equivalent of not having any spines in your base. Which is why it's like, it'd be like you and this guy. This is how I see this match right now. Imagine if you and this guy were both just like bodybuilders, okay? You both just like went to the gym and you bulked up as much as you could, and you're both strong as fuck. And then someone's like, all right, let's do a test. There's a brick wall. Punch it with your bare fist, and you both can somehow punch through a brick wall with your hand. And your hand's not broken. You just like, you break through a wall, and you're like, awesome. But then you and this guy, neither one of you has ever done any type of MMA training, and you're supposed to be having a fight, like, you know, soon. But neither one of you know how to fight at all. So you're both like pulling each other's hair and just like punching each other in the face as hard as you can. And you're both just hitting each other every time because neither one of you knows how to dodge anything. But you're both fucking each other up real bad. That's what I see this game as. You both have no sense of defense. And you're hitting each other real hard. But luckily for you, all you gotta do is make a couple spines like we talked about, and maybe add on a couple extra spines for extra base, like the newer, more exposed bases. Like this one is an exposed base. This is an exposed base. This is an exposed base. And you can rotate the spines around. Or leave them there. It's really your call. It's just 4 spines compared to 2 spines. Yeah, see, remember I remember what I said? There's a hole in this. You had like spine, Evo, Evo, for the purpose of getting rid of Hellion Rabbis, and there's still a hole. No, don't ever try to wall your bases in, because what's going to actually happen is let's just say hypothetically that a Terran, like you wall the base in, okay, and a Terran player shows up with like 2 Liberators, and he's like Liberation Zone. Liberation Zone. And then you're like, fuck! I need to get out, but I walled myself in! And he's just popping your drones with Liberators. And you're like, oh, this sucks. And then you're like, but wait, I thought ahead. Part of my wall is a spine crawler. I'm going to uproot it and move my drones out. And then he's got like 2 fucking Hellions here, and you just like walk into 2 Hellions and all your drones die in a conga line. Oh, we lose again! Not worth it. Such a waste. I had to say it one more time because it's a big waste. This is so fucking bad. Don't ever do this.
Vespine geyser exhausted.
And another thing too, that just in general for every StarCraft player out there, just know that if the game goes long like this ever, pattern is something you can discover in your opponent. And I'm not even kidding. This guy has a pattern with this guy's pattern is this. I'm gonna go mass species. I'm gonna max out, or try to get as close as I can to it. And when I feel like I have a good army, I'm gonna send all my BCs around the side of the map. I am not going to scan ahead. I am just going to blindly engage a base. And then as soon as I get attacked by something, I'm going to teleport away. Watch. This guy not scan a single thing when he fights you. So he just scanned right there because he wants to put a command center down. Don't be alarmed. That's not a real scan. I'm talking about scanning the fucking engagement. A lot of Terrans that are good will scan ahead to make sure what they're about to do with their BCs is not stupid. This Terran has not done that once this game. This Terran is 100% vulnerable to what I was talking about earlier about how you can kill the BCs. He'll just fly into the base. Or the second he gets attacked, he'll try to teleport away. But look what just happened. You actually did it, dude! You went for it, but you should have burrowed these, by the way, because it's much easier to get it off if they're burrowed. It's much easier for the Terran to avoid it if they're just waddling around like fatties on the creep. But you still did it because the Terran was slow about it. And you just punished his ass. I love that you fucking did this to him. Like, I was hoping to God this would happen at some point. This Terran is doing something super stupid and you finally punished him for it. You just killed like 2 BCs before he teleported. Make that 3. And now you got rid of another. How many is it? It's 5. You just killed 8 of his battlecruisers. This guy once again just donated to you. What is that? That's 6,600 supply, or sorry, 6,600 resources. You just killed 8 BCs, which is 6,600 resources. Right? Am I wrong? I don't know. Whatever. I am wrong. It's 5,600. He just donated you 5,600 resources. Because each one's worth 700. But that's a fucking lot. That's not something you want to just be like, yeah, 5,600, who cares? That's how you lose the game. Muffin Maestro, I'm sure right now you're proud of yourself. Don't be. I hope you don't look at this and think this was good. Because you want to know what would happen against a good Terran if you did this? Not to mention what I said a second ago with the whole fucking air harass that you just trap your own drones in jail with. All the Terran has to do to fuck you over if you do this. What if he actually just put his Hellions here now? And he made them Hellbats? What are you going to do? Are you going to move your spines? Or what if he made him Hellbats and he hit this hatchery, and let's say this hatchery got down to like 500 hit points because you realized it when it's already at 1200, and then finally your spine moves roots, and then now it's at 500, and now the spine's starting to poke the Hellbats. If it's low enough, he could just straight up kill it, or he could just back up a little bit, turn them into fucking Hellion mode, and then just finish off the hatchery out of range. And let's say you move your spines even further forward because you're like, oh god, I gotta get out there. And you open up your door, and then he's like, oh, I'll just run right by it and now go into your base. Kill your drones. It's just fucking bad. It's like, it requires maintenance, is what I'm trying to say. This requires maintenance, which is fucking annoying. If you just had spine, 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 zero maintenance. Fucking zero maintenance. Nothing. You don't gotta do anything. Spines do the job for you in every single way that he can attack it. And then the only thing you gotta do is if he suicides his units into your shit and loses his units, but he does some damage in the process, just take a brief moment and go, are we undersaturated? Are we underspined? And go, okay, let's say you killed 3 drones and 1 spine. All right, spine, make a drone, make a spine. Make 4 drones, resaturate. I'm gonna go do other things again, other tasks that are more important. Also, another thing, I'm gonna give you a tip here. If you're going for the Sky Zerg based army of Infestor, Corruptor, Broodlord, and Zergling, I don't mind that you have Zerglings, but to counterattack, but I do not like when you're using Zerglings to defend your base. It's only ever really useful if, like, you know, it's just in the same area per se. The only reason why I'm saying this is because it's happened like all game, pretty much. Like, you've been using ground units to defend his ground units the whole time when you haven't needed to. Something I think you should recommend, or something I recommend you invest into, maybe you should make like 6 Mutalisk or like 8 Mutalisk. Okay. And then put them in the group of what your Zerglings are in, which is 4 right now. Group 4 could be your defense group. And every single time you ever see Hellions on the map, or a Banshee on the map, or a Liberator on the map, or something on the map that's going to attack you, Mutas never have to be rebuilt. They will never die. And they will repeatedly kill Hellions all day. Or harassment from Terran all day. And you already have level 3 weapons for it, so they would kill it pretty quickly. And it's not even like 30 Mutas, or fucking 20 Mutas. It's 8. Like 6 or 8 Mutas with 1 Overseer. That's it. You know how many hits it takes for 6 Mutas to kill a Hellion? Fucking 2. 2 hits from 6 Mutas, a Hellion will die. So if you're like, hit Hellions, hit Hellions, hit Hellions. His Hellions are like dead before they even get to the spines. And then your Lings can be literally, they don't even need to be in a control group. You could just be like, Lings, go attack that fucking base over there. And you can pay attention to it when they initiate the attack and then just forget about them. There you go. Like, and then, like, whatever happens, happens. They're going to kill the base or they're not, but who gives a shit? But you shouldn't be making Lings the entire time anyways. You should also, like, it's just for counters. It's just for counters. But what my point is Mutas are better at defending your base against Hellion pressure like this, in this kind of a game, than Lings are. Because it's something you never have to replace. Good counter. That was a good counter. And also, just throwing this out there too, for anyone who's wondering, ViBE, how do I know when I should and shouldn't be countering? Like, I don't understand. Like, why sometimes you say it's good and sometimes you say it's bad. Can you please explain? When you have an army that is as strong as it's going to be, okay? If your army is, right now, you're like, I want that fucking fight. Where is that fight at? I'm looking for it. Because your army can physically not get any stronger than it currently is. Well, that army doesn't have Zerglings in it. I'm just throwing that out there. That army does not have Zerglings. That is a death ball. So you should not be counterattacking his base when your army is at that stage. You should instead be like maybe sending changelings around and looking for the optimal place to take a fight at. But if your army is not at that supreme death ball situation because you don't physically have enough resources to do it, because your gas is limited, you're like, oh, I've fucking 7,000 minerals and 900 gas. It's totally fine to make some Ling counterattacks go on then. Send fucking 600 minerals worth of Lings around the side of the map and see what happens. That's totally fine. Because every time you do that, you can keep remaking those Lings every time, but your gas death ball should be increasing to a point to where it's going to eventually hit a peak where you max out and you can't get any stronger than you are. And now your Lings should not be part of the army anymore. It's the exact same concept I talked about earlier when I was like, look at these 11 roaches down here. Remember that? They could have been 11 corruptors, which would have made, instead of 13 corruptors, 24 in that earlier fight against the BCs that happened right here. Same concept. Don't have shit supply in your army when you're going for a death ball push. Counterattacks are only viable and only relevant when you're building up to the death ball. Once you're there, you stop fucking having supply invested into counterattacks. And instead, it's death ball time, which is one fight. And then when you remax new units, and when some of your death ball starts dying, you can then make more death ball units or more counter units. That's totally fine. But the worst thing you can do is be like, I'm going to do a big death ball based attack right now, and I'm going to do it with 50 fucking supply less than what I should have. Or 40. Or something. That's terrible. Super bad. Good neurals. That was a well-executed engagement. But again, burrow your infestors. If your goal is to neural parasite, burrow your infestors because it helps with pathing. And it also helps them not die as easy because they are cloaked. It's very important. It makes the infestor easier or harder to use. If they're always just up burrowed. The only time, here's the good way to look at it. The only time against Mech your infestor should ever not be burrowed is if you are up against Ghost or if you are up against Viking. If you're not up against either one of those units, you probably, or like I guess like Liberator also would count. If he's got like 15 Liberators and they're all clumped up, Fungal would be great again. My point is you should not have them burrowed, or sorry, you should not have them out in the open like this, unburrowed. They shouldn't be like this. If you're going to basically not use Fungal and instead you're going to Neural Parasite. If your goal is to Neural Parasite, they should be burrowed. Neural Parasite, burrow, Fungal Growth, they can be like that. And you're not going to Fungal the fucking Thors. You know what would be hilarious is if Muffin said, ViBE, I lose this game, by the way. How the fuck do you lose? Obviously he wins. God, spines will help you so much, dude. I can't describe how many drones have died this game. That didn't need to die because no spines. Yeah. Overall, going over it one more time really fast. I gave you the build. Muffin, I don't think you were here, by the way. When you rewatch this, at one point earlier on in the game, I give you a build and I tell you to write it down, more or less. It's like a guideline to a build. You'll see it eventually. I'm not going to go over it again because I already did this game once. But you'll see it. Follow that pretty hard. Your build order was your biggest problem this game because it set the pace for everything to be really bad. Everything was more of a problem than it had to be because of the opener. Next, the next thing that could be fixed a lot is your scouting. You never, ever, and like all these replay analysis that I can remember in the recent past that just happened, you don't ever look for the third base of your opponent. And I remember earlier on in the game, you saturated 5 bases blindly after he attacked you with a battlecruiser and Hellions. You saturated 5 bases blindly, only knowing that he had 2 bases. That's super risky. You really fucking need a scout for a third base. The golden rule of Zerg is you want to stay 1 base up above your opponent. That's the simple way to look at it. 1 base above your opponent. But if you win a fight, or if your opponent is rushing units that have kind of shitty scaling, you can go 2 bases ahead of your opponent. For instance, if your opponent is like, you know what, I'm not going to go Hellions. I'm not really going to make any Cyclones. I'm not going to make any tanks. I'm not really going to make Thors. I'm not going to make Banshees. I'm not going to make Liberators. I'm just going to go straight fucking battlecruisers. I guess I'll make a little bit of Hellions, but it's just going to be only battlecruisers. Well, cost efficiently, Corruptors trade better than battlecruisers when you have equal supply. 3 Corruptors trade better than 1 battlecruiser. That's the same supply. So that'd be a situation where I would say you could totally go 2 bases above your opponent in saturation rather than just the 1. If he's a BC boy, like mass BCs, that is totally viable. Just go Roach Corruptor versus Hellion BC. You could do that. But in general, stay 1 base above your opponent if you have not won a fight or your opponent's tech is not easily countered by your tech. The whole thing about BCs is they don't really get scary until there's a lot of them. But even then, when there's a lot of them, you can counter them with infestors. So yeah, scout for the third. I don't want to confuse you. Scout for the fucking third. Don't just be like, you know what? Let's make like 40 drones right now. Does he have a third base? I don't know. Maybe. That's bad. Don't do that. Super bad. At least have an idea what the hell he's doing. Because if he 2-base all into you behind that battlecruiser opener, if he just like pulled the boys and went for fucking more of an attack, like a straight up frontal, like I'm just going to kill you and repair my units while I'm doing it, you would have died. Guaranteed, you would have died right there. So you need to know. And then the other thing that I didn't really like this game that is kind of glaring and it sticks out is the static defense thing we talked about. But we already went over that, so I feel like I kind of drilled that into your head a little bit already. So you kind of know that. Those are big. Those are important. Those are huge. That'll help you out a lot if you work on that. And then the last thing, it's less important, but it still is important. And we went over it a little bit, but I'll just touch on it one more time, is the unit composition. Don't ever go Hydras against BCs if you're going to go for a Spire. Hydras would only really work against BCs if you're going to go like Hydra Viper. And even then, it's not great. Or maybe Hydra Infestor would also work, but still, that's not great. It's way harder to use, and it's way less efficient. It's kind of shitty. Corruptors are so much better. And the only time, in general, you should ever be making Roach Hydra at all is if you're going to go Roach Hydra Viper. And you're going to, like, do Blinding Cloud timings with abducts and shit. That's it. It's the only time it's viable. Otherwise, it sucks. Hydra's just depleted your bank so hard this game. It made the game harder for you. It didn't need to be that hard. Roaches are good. Roaches are great. Roaches are a transition unit, though. As soon as you transition to the unit you're going to, which is a Broodlord, you don't ever make a Roach again the entire time. There is no one in the world that could argue a reason why you'd ever want to make a Roach again when you have access to Broodlords, except for one situation. There's only one. And that is if you just lost a big fight in the middle of the map and you need to make Roaches right now because they're the fastest thing you can make, and you think that Roaches would be able to kill the army of your opponent before you die. Because if you were to be like, oh, I'll go Broodlords, you would lose like 4 bases in the process and you'd die because Broodlords take longer. That's like the only time you would ever want to make roaches. But just straight up making roaches like randomly here and there in the middle of the game and shit, once you have access to Broodlords, is so fucking bad. It's the biggest waste. Mutas are better than roaches at defending timings and counters and pressures and shit along the side of the map. Like the 6 to 8 mutas I talked about. Or just static D. Or both of those things. And then Broodlords do everything roaches do 100 times better. 100 times better. Roaches just fucking suck once you get to that point. They're so worthless. And then Lings also are better than roaches in terms of counter pressuring because they can get more done. Like if they're going to get something done, Lings are going to get more done than roaches for equal supply. Like if I have 20 roaches or if I have 40 Lings and my opponent is not defending himself, I'm not going to lie, 40 Lings are going to do a lot more damage than 20 roaches. Or it's not even, sorry, that's not even right. That's actually incorrect what I just said. It's 10 roaches to 40 Lings. That's equal supply right there. Because 1 roach is worth 4 Lings. So it's 10 roaches to 40 Lings. 10 roaches will get less done than 40 Lings. Guaranteed. If there is nothing defending the Terran or whoever the fuck you're attacking. Like when you have upgrades like adrenal glands and upgrades like that. And they also don't cost gas. They cost less.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just more efficient as well on top of that in terms of your economy. And yeah, I don't know. I think that kind of covers it. Anyways, guys, I hope you liked it. I feel like I tried to cover most of the points in this game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Muffin, thank you very much for submitting another one. I will see you all in the next video. Until then, have a great night, everybody. Have a good day wherever you are, whenever you're watching this. Peace, guys. Until next time.